back to Life on the Frontline as a social entrepreneur, filming episode 3 back in the positive energy of the great outdoors. And the sun is just coming up, so what a great way to start the day. You will remember we left episode 2 at number 4 on our 5-point checklist. Why were the 3 contributing factors to our social problem I had identified? Limited to no access to A, stock, B, funding, and C, digital skills, B, challenges for the women merchants in Haiti. Let's find out, pick up where we left off, and dive right in. On the issue of limited to no stock, I have 4 insights for you. Haiti makes up 1/3 of the island of Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic the remaining 2/3. It is one of Haiti's primary trade routes. In 2015, immigration and trade had soured between the two nations. What happened is a complex story, not something I could credibly speak about. I do know the impact on Petit Marchand is that their number 1 supply route for stock of new ladies' lingerie, among other products, was all but cut off. Haiti participates in a number of regional trade agreements: Caribbean Basin Trade Partnership, HOPE, Opportunity Through Partnership, and HELP, Economic Lift Programme, to name 3. They are designed to support favourable import and export conditions. Arguably, the Petit Marchand could have leveraged these trade agreements to benefit from duty-free imports of stock for resale, although without funding, digital skills, plus connections and access to travel, merchants would likely find it difficult to take advantage of this opportunity. Economies are ranked by their ease of doing business, from 1 to 190. Haiti ranks 179. It can be a challenging environment to operate a business in. There is no guarantee of a return on investment in the form of profits. Social good must come first, followed by economic gain. As a result, Pants to Haiti had no direct competitive suppliers of stock of new ladies' lingerie. The upside, there remains untapped demand. How about simply buying stock from existing lingerie manufacturers based in Haiti? Well, those that are there for the most part to take advantage of the trade agreements I mentioned earlier. They manufacture for export. Stories circulate of a very well-known lingerie design who destroy and dump excess stock that they don't export, rather than it being sold on the streets of Haiti in the event it might damage their brand. To our challenge of funding. Why was this an issue for the merchants? Okay, let's take it in 2 succinct parts. The view of the merchants, 1, and number 2, the view of the lender. Merchants are often not aware of what funding was available to them, and as a result did not know how to take advantage of it. Local social norms play a part for women, thinking, that's not for me, I won't get funding, I don't get to grow my business. And also, a feeling of intimidation going into a bank or a mobile money service provider store. Plus, in my experience, women do not necessarily want to take out institutional loans and become potentially vulnerable to debt. There are historic trust issues, and there is often not enough education when it comes to borrowing for women. Okay, the view of the lender. Let's take it top 3. Mobile money microloans, microfinance, and gifts or loan from friends and family in the form of international remittance. This is a big topic. Let's get a few high-level insights and save the detail for later in this compact video series. In the case of mobile money, I wish I knew then what I know now. In my role as head of mobile financial services, we were well set up to support medium and larger businesses, the local supermarket chain, restaurants, and hotels. Yet, for mobile money service providers to really benefit from women micro-enterprise or merchants as customers, I understand now they must first invest in addressing the barriers for those women in access to and use of funding, including financial literacy education we mentioned earlier, relevant credit scoring for women, and women are proven to be a safe bet when it comes to repaying loans, and simply just making sure any loan disbursed stays with the woman of the household and is used for the pre-agreed purpose, in this case, purchase of stock to grow their business. For microfinance, perceived high cost of borrowing persists. A story more unique to the local environment I was operating in from a reliable source is that there existed a clique or monopoly of 2 to 3 women who held the power and the influence to avail of microfinance, buy in bulk, and ship to Haiti via the free trade zone in Panama. The fact that there may have been a monopoly very likely discouraged smaller individual merchants from signing up to microfinance and doing the same. A more informal option for the merchants to fund the growth of their business was international remittance from the Haitian diaspora, friends and family living and working overseas, for the most part in the US and Canada. Good to know. In 2019, personal remittances received were valued at over 38% of Haiti's GDP, and for comparison, the global average is 4.6% of GDP. We could have and should have done more with these relationships. And number 3, why were digital skills a challenge? Well, there are reportedly over 7 million mobile connections in Haiti. That's a 63% mobile penetration rate in a population of over 11 million people. Internet penetration, not just on your mobile, is reported as low at 33%. The literacy rate is increasing, although it still remains comparatively low at 62% of the adult population. When I talk about digital skills, I am speaking about the skills needed to benefit from Pants to Haiti. The store was online. I designed and built the website and app using store builder Shopify. While many of the petit marchands had the latest smartphone, they were really adept at knowing the way around social media, Facebook and WhatsApp. I later came to understand it would take a lot of my already stretched resource, my time and the teams to train the merchants to shop online on the Pants to Haiti store, plus make and accept payments using mobile money. So, challenges with more general literacy levels I mentioned earlier, combined with the, let's call it, not the necessary digital skills to benefit from Pants to Haiti. We've made it to number 5 on our 5-point checklist. When were the merchants facing the social problem of not being able to grow their business, consistently generate an income for their future and that of their families? This one is easy. 24/7/365. Growing their business in a sustainable way is a constant challenge that persists. Can I just drill down to one point? There are seasonal variations around holidays when merchants, if they had stock, funding and the necessary digital skills, could likely generate sizable incomes, setting themselves up for growth. Christmas. Religion is the backbone of many communities, and Christmas, along with many other religious holidays, are celebrated in Haiti. Family events. Valentine's Day, I guess that one's a little obvious. Also back to school. What has ladies' lingerie got to do with back to school? Well, later we will find out why it was difficult, almost impossible, for the women merchants to decouple buying for themselves and their customers what could be considered a luxury item and not using that same money for the perceived greater good of their family. And finally, something a little outside of our 5-point checklist, but it loosely falls within number 5, I do want to share with you. The petit marchands were dependent on my availability, something I often struggled with and left me feeling very guilty. It was a real lesson for me in setting the right expectations. Once you decide to get involved in a project like Pants to Haiti, you become central to these women's lives. You are a person they can trust and you are a safe space. You and your stock need to be available. So, a lot of content in our 5-point checklist for you to reflect on. Before we wrap, have you got room for 4 final takeaways that may not be the obvious ones? Great. Number 1, introductions to merchants are great, and honestly, some days I was just grateful that somebody, anybody, had turned up. Having said that, I would recommend to you to set your criteria, do your research, and match those introductions with your own due diligence. Number 2, recruit the best local team on the ground you can find. I fell on my feet. Number 3, let's not assume that women beneficiaries, in this case merchants, want to take up funding even if it is available to them. And number 4, can I land a final message with you? It is a reminder for me as much to share with you. To respect the trust put in you by vulnerable people, show up, empathize, be available, don't let them down. Thanks for watching. See you in episode 4.